of the companions that would set out from Chiusi. The one I was most acquainted with at the time was called Thandi of the Three Spears. She was the only woman among the company, and other than myself, the only one who was not Norsker, though she was still, in the eyes of the Rasenna, a barbarian. Her birth tribe, the Inkosausi, hail from a land far to the west across the Blood Sea. They are a fierce people, long subjugated by the great enemy of the Rasenna, the Ka'anani. Thandi's people are said to dwell in an arid land of grassy plains, and are renowned for their foot speed and endurance. Some say that their warriors can run as fast as a horse, and for twice as long, though I would guess this to be an exaggeration. Like all Inkosausi, her skin was the color of obsidian, and her long hair was twisted into many thin strands, as is the custom of her people. Though she had taken to wearing Norsker garb, she yet favored the traditional weapon of her people, a short-hafted spear with a head nearly as long and twice as wide as a sword. Thandi I knew best because it had been she who was most helpful in learning the language of the barbarians, as she shared my knack for languages. She not only spoke both Norsk and Rasenari expertly, but Ka'anani and some other languages common in the surrounding lands. It was this talent that had brought her to Chiusi with the Norsker all those years ago. It was she who had acted as their interpreter in their venture to trade their goods and resupply for the return to their homeland. As I have said, her tribe had long been a client people of the Ka'anani. The tribute they paid to their conquerors primarily consisted of military conscripts. Thandi had been one such, and fought in conflicts across the countless small islands in the Blood Sea. An unexpected storm had taken her ship wildly off course, and, hopelessly lost, they had been driven onto a reef. She makes no guess at why she did not drown with the rest of the ship's occupants, but she awoke to find herself alone, washed up by the tide on an unfamiliar island. She soon discovered that it was inhabited by stumbling, half-drowned, starving, and dehydrated, into the camp of a pirate clan that called it home. She was hopelessly outnumbered and fighting for her life when she heard a sound that she thought must be death itself. It was like nothing she had ever heard, and seemed to come from every direction at once, a clear, deafening tone that shook her to her bones. The men she had been fighting fell like rag dolls, riddled with arrows, and one was taken completely off his feet and pinned to a tree by a spear with a shaft as thick as her wrist. As what could only be described as a slaughter went on in her periphery, she found herself confronted by two pale-skinned, hairy giants and, oddly, a young boy. The boy held out both his hands toward her, as if to show her they were empty, and then slowly unslung a water skin from over his shoulder and offered it to her. She smiled as she recounted this to me. The boy had been Ulfgar, who at that time had been about 9 years of age, with his father and uncle. Others among the Norsker informed me how these events had unfolded. They had been hunting the pirates on behalf of a coastal village that had sheltered them from the same storm that sank Thandi's ship. The villagers had spoken to Angeir of predation by seafaring bandits, and he had sworn that in return for their hospitality, he would see that they no longer need fear such raids. Arngeir's warband had tracked the pirates down, put ashore on the opposite side of the island, and stealthily surrounded the camp. Arngeir himself was about to give the order to attack when this woman, the likes of which they had never seen, stumbled out of the jungle with a broken spear and immediately killed 2 very surprised pirates before anyone could even blink. She then dispatched 2 more who came to investigate, before the denizens of the entire camp came rushing towards her. The blast of the Norsker war horns drowned out all other sounds as the entire camp erupted into chaos, which ended just a few minutes later when the pirates were slain to a man. The language barrier made communication of nuanced or complex ideas difficult in those first days, but Thandi read the situation well enough to understand Ulfgar's offer of friendship and belonging. From that day forward, Thandi had been his constant companion and self-appointed bodyguard. And because of this, sometimes the Norsker call her Ulfgar's shadow. She may not be Norsker, but she is one of them,